So the path of the Hinayana is certainly mindfulness and Shinay meditation and cutting attachment to samsara by contemplating these impermanences. Yes?
I'm confused about where to put all these in context. So you've given sort of 3 lists of the different yanas, and
Yes.
then the different meditation forms, so the shamatha, vipassana, mahamudra, and then these lineages. And I'm wondering how they intersect. So within one lineage, will there be Hinayana, Mahayana,
Yes.
Vajrayana?
Yes.
And it's a progression of your practice?
Yes.
And your progression of your practice goes along with the meditative practice?
Yes.
It does.
You've got it.
Oh,
That's easy. So yes, we're not, although we're talking about these different lineages, they all include the yanas. You have to have discipline. You have to follow a particular course of action. Although the Hinayana path is only, for self-liberation, we take that into the Mahayana tradition. So we have our discipline, we have our intention to be liberated and to end samsara. But we also, the difference is, we're also seeing that other people are suffering too, and we want to help other suffering beings as well. Hinayana is self-liberation. Mahayana is loving kindness and compassion for all sentient beings. And the Vajrayana path is recognizing the Buddha nature in all beings, and recognizing not only the empty quality of the nature of the mind, but really the Buddha nature, that we're all Buddhas. Even more than that, we're all Buddhas. So the goal of the Hinayana path, is nirvana. Basically, that's it. Experience the blissful nature. Get out of suffering. Samsara is hell. We don't like it. The Mahayana tradition, though, as we say, and it is called the greater vehicle, and is the second cycle of the Buddha's teaching, it talks more about this motivation, the greater motivation that we're talking about. The Hinayana emphasizes abandonment and renunciation, and that's important, renouncing this. But that takes a lot of different forms. A person can be, a king and be a renunciate, not attached, to his empire. But a monk can be attached to his begging bowl. So again, it is a matter of mind stream. It's a matter of, what is true renunciation. And so these attachments are something that the Hinayana practitioner is real clear that he has an attachment to nothing, and is getting out of this cycle of birth and death, samsaric existence, but only to rest in nirvana, which is not a complete realization. Not a complete realization. The Mahayana teachings, the aspiration for the individual is individual liberation, but the intention is to achieve personal liberation so that we can help all sentient beings, is like I said. So you see the difference in motivation. There is a difference in motivation there. Not only, so we carry that on. We still carry on the Mahayana, the Hinayana motivation to be liberated, but it's a greater vehicle in that now we've extended that out to all sentient beings. Our purpose of realization is to benefit all sentient beings. That's the path of the Bodhisattva. Cultivating compassion and loving kindness for all sentient beings. To pacify our afflictive emotions, and to transform them into positive, and to have this unbiased love and compassion for all beings. This is the altruistic motivation of the Bodhisattva. Unbiased love. We don't just love our friends and family, and hate our enemies. We see all beings as the same. All sentient beings as being our mothers. And since beginningless time, the Buddha taught that indeed everyone has been your mother many times. So look around. These are your mothers. And having that motivation, many of you know what motherhood is, and so to have that kind of compassion that we would want to not have beings suffer, and we want to do whatever we can as swiftly as possible to end that suffering, certainly for ourselves, the twofold, the benefit of ourselves, but for others too. Yeah. We don't want to abandon any sentient being. That's the Bodhisattva vow. Until enlightenment is reached, we will continue, and that's why the Karmapa and the Dalai Lama keep coming back. They've taken this Bodhisattva vow to benefit beings until enlightenment is reached, until all beings achieve the state of enlightenment. It's quite a vow. That's the Bodhisattva vow. Some of you have taken the Bodhisattva vow. That's what it means, if you weren't clear about it. So the Mahayana motivation is the liberation of all sentient beings. And the view of this, is the emptiness of all phenomenon. And all phenomena are empty of any really inherent nature. Self and other, empty. And we cultivate this compassion in our practice by perfecting the 6 perfections, the 6 paramitas, generosity, perfect generosity, perfect ethical conduct, perfect patience or forbearance, joyful effort and diligence. Diligence is one thing. Joyful effort is a little bit different, isn't it? We do this because, it gives us pleasure. It gives us happiness to make this effort for the benefit of beings. And establishing meditative stability in our practice, through shamatha, through vipassana, and mahamudra. And then through perfect wisdom, prajnaparamita practices that, again, lead to the ultimate understanding of the nature of the mind and Buddhahood. So that's the path, the Mahayana path, is that cultivation of these perfections. And the Bodhisattva progresses along these paths or bhumis and gradually lets go of more subtle and more subtle clinging to a sense of self. Even the high-level Bodhisattvas still have a slight hint or odor of a self, it is said. But gradually, until they reach the final culmination in Buddhahood, and then they release all this attachment. But there are progresses, 10 bhumis, that is 10 levels of realization for the Bodhisattvas. And the first one is called joyful. They're happy. But we won't talk about the levels of Bodhisattvas right now. But that's the goal. The Mahayana is complete liberation and enlightenment for the benefit of sentient beings. Any question about that idea? And the Vajrayana teachings were taught, continuation of the empty or inherent nature of mind. And sometimes there's a mistaken belief about that as far as emptiness or annihilation goes, and that there's nothing. That is not true either. The Buddha nature is complete with all qualities. It's not called nihilism. It's not nihilism. It is something different from that. But some people fall into this nihilism aspect of the nature of mind when we talk about emptiness, but emptiness contains everything within it. It's far from nihilistic. So we continue with this continuum and the intrinsic nature, the luminosity of the mind, and we do these practices in the Vajrayana, such as Chenrezi, where we visualize in the what's the word I want, is we build up the palace, and there's completion stage and generation stage. Thank you. In the generation stage, we are cultivating the view of the Chenrezi, to use that as an example, his palace, the milieu, the sending out of the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum. We see ourselves as this deity ascending out to all sentient beings, this healing quality of light and love and compassion, and then drawing it back in, dissolving into emptiness, and that is the completion state. We rest in the true nature of our mind, that empty quality. That's known as completion stage. So we cultivate both those, and for those of you who haven't done any of the deity yogas or deity practices, if while you're here you might want to do Chenrezi practice. And this is chanted in the Tibetan, but you can read how that is in this generation stage, and then resting the mind finally in its true natural state at the completion stage. And that is the Vajrayana approach. So the motivation is still liberation here, and still liberation for the benefit of all sentient beings. But here we really see the view of Buddha nature present in all beings. We see all beings as Buddhas. And we hold that, on the cushion, off the cushion. Everything is a reflection of the Buddha. It requires, regular daily practice and strong faith and confidence and stronger commitment to the teachings and to one's teacher. In the Vajrayana, one has a very strong connection with the Guru as you do these practices. So that is important. And this is just part of the Buddhist path of progression on the path to ultimate compassion in the Mahayana and Vajrayana traditions. How are we doing so far? Anything, comment or question? Yes, please.
Thank you. I have a somewhat technical question about empowerment and deity practices.
Yes.
Khenpo Carter instructed me to do the Chenrezig practice and said it was fine to do it without the empowerment. So I'm learning on my own and coming here and so forth. But I have heard that there's something somewhat different attitude about the Amitabha practice. And here there's a shortened version that goes along with the Chenrezig practice. So I'm not sure how to handle that.
Even with the Chenrezig practice, I mean, when you come to a group session and do it with the group, no empowerment is really necessary. But if you're doing it as a regular practice at home, it is strongly suggested that you do the empowerment, and you get the blessing and the lung that goes with that, the reading transmission, so that you are linked to the highest source of this from someone who has it to you, and then you become a reservoir of that energy. It's like that transmission of chi, the transmission of the blessing, is considered a good thing to do. Chenrezig, because it's a sutra practice, isn't necessary. Medicine Buddha is another one. It's not necessarily to have the empowerment, but it's strongly recommended if you're doing this as a personal practice at home.
Right, I'm just waiting for it to come up, which
Good.
may not come
and
up
Amitabha
soon.
is definitely one that you want an empowerment for.
Right. So when I'm here in the group while the Amitabha practice
Oh, it's
is
fine.
going,
do it, and you'll get the blessing that goes with it.
I see.
But it is considered to be more auspicious and more beneficial to have the blessing of the empowerment in the
okay,
that you
great.
have.
Thank you.
But there's no harm in doing it. While you're there are many in the of these practices that one can do. But it's what you have the strongest confidence in, what you have the strongest relationship with, that is the practice really that you should pursue. And you may not know what that is, and that's the other place. These are Vajrayana practices now that we're talking about. So having a relationship with a teacher to say, it'd be good for you to practice Tara. And if you're going through a situation, be good for you to practice, whatever that is, based on your particular causes and conditions, your particular mind stream. The teacher can help you sort that out. But empowerments are blessings, and they are done, again, to enhance your practice, to give you more stability in your practice, and serve as really a blessing, to do the practice from your teacher. Some of them, it's very essential that you do that. You get the reading transmission, or the lung as it's called, and you get the empowerment in a kind of ritual ceremony. Some of you, I'm sure, have participated in these empowerments, and they can be very powerful experiences. And some of you may not relate to some of the things. It's very ritualistic. You may get something popped on your head, or take a little nectar, but all these things have a very particular meaning in the transmission of the energy of that particular deity. And at the time that the teacher does that, he is the deity. And you're getting it straight from the source. That's the relationship that you have with the teacher, is that you see him as that, or her as that embodiment of that deity when we're talking about deity yoga or the practice of a yidam. Your teacher becomes increasingly important. Good question. Good question. Anything else before we go on? Yeah, so the role of the position of the teacher in the lineage is very important. And checking, when these empowerments will happen. It's not really a matter of seeing how many you can get and checking them off the list. It's better to practice, one, conscientiously, wholeheartedly, and devotedly, than it is to see how many you can amass. Because, they're all perfectly enlightened beings. One enlightened being is no greater than another enlightened being. They all possess the same qualities. Some may manifest in a particular way, like we say, Chenrezig, the compassion and loving kindness and Manjushri wisdom. So for students or people who are of intellectual bent may want to do Manjushri, and because they have that mind stream in that particular direction. But the Chenrezig will grant you great wisdom. Don't have to worry about that. Most of you were here for the 10 o'clock, but some of you were not, so I'm going to review again the 7 postures of 7 points of Virochana. And Basha, in her kindness, has Xeroxed off guidelines for meditation that, and that she'll pass out by Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche. These were published in the Densel. And so these are little reminders for you when you go home about the same thing we're talking about right now, but you will have them in front of you to refer to if should you forget. Khenpo Karthar was my retreat master, and I'm very fortunate. That's why I did the retreat. There was some question about Khenpo Rinpoche's health and him doing other retreats, and there was a rumor that the third retreat that I did would be the last retreat that he would do. So at that point, I sold everything. I had a school, the Florida School of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. I'm a practitioner of traditional Chinese medicine, have been for 30 years, and had a school, and sold it, and off I went. It was time to put up or shut up. And it was a very good decision. As was said, I also have a PhD from the University of Florida in psychology, so I can speak with some authority about psychology, and I can tell you that the Buddhist teaching is a supreme psychology. And following the tenets and the practice of the Buddha will lead you to more than good mental health. It will lead you to enlightenment, which is even better. So practicing these things will certainly lead to one's good mental health. We don't do it for that. I mean, that's a nice side effect. We talk about meditation as lowering blood pressure and being good for this, that, and the next thing. Yes, it will help that, but that's not our goal. Our goal is enlightenment, total, complete liberation for the benefit of sentient beings. And if our blood pressure goes down, fine. That's okay. But that's not what we're doing it for. Like I say, our intention is very important. And even in terms of acts of generosity, when we say perfect generosity, when we look at the paramitas, we can give someone with something